It's a new year, and because I just finished my journal, it's time to start a new one. I'm Amanda Bennett. I'm a writer, artist, and craft adventurer, and this is The Dabbler's Journey. This video was supposed to go up last week, but because of the timeliness of last week's topic, this one got bumped. But now we can get to it. Today I'm sharing my favorite Archer and Olive notebook. They are not sponsoring this video, I just really love their products. My journal failures, and how I developed my current journaling practice. Before we get into this guy, I'm gonna show you my the journal that I just finished. So this is the one that I've had for most of 2024, and this is the first Archer and Olive notebook that I've used. The pages are very thick, and that's one of the things I like about this, because when I use, honestly, whatever pen I decide to use, it doesn't bleed through to the other side. I don't have any ghosting, whether I use a fountain pen or a ballpoint pen, even, marker pens, things like that, they don't bleed through. Now, alcohol markers will bleed through, but those are kind of a different animal. But I love this because I don't have that ghosting. I find that really distracting when there's ghosting from the previous page and then you flip it over, you can kind of see the imprint and the ink from the previous side. A quick note before I open this up, I did start this journal as a bullet journal. Last year I didn't use a planner, and I figured I would just do the bullet journal thing for all of my planning and all of my word vomit, brain dump, brainstorm lists and things, so I could have it all in one. But I actually found that to not be the best solution for me. So this year I am going back to having a separate journal from my planner. I've got all of this stuff that I did in early January last year that I honestly never filled out. And what I found is that I don't flip back to do these kinds of practices. And so that also led to the desire to do a planner separately from my journal, so that as I'm flipping to those pages throughout the week, throughout the month that are correlated, I can do some of these things inside the planner instead. Because I'm just not going to come back to this, honestly. And I remember just agonizing over getting this even set up last year. So rather than, I even you can see, I did all these different things. I have Post-it notes for what I was hoping to do, and it just did not happen. Let's see, what else did I do in here? Oh, here's a good example of what I tried to do for setting up for a monthly planner. I did do a whole lot of brain dumping. We're gonna go ahead and get into the new one. Take a look at the fresh, clean journal for the new year, and I'll talk a little bit about my journaling practice and how I've made that fit into my life. This is wrapped up in plastic. I'm gonna have to open this up in just a second, but this is the A5 vintage camera. It's the dot grid journal, and I really like the dot grid because I can be really flexible with how I use it as compared to just a ruled notebook. And you can see it's got the extra thick pages, and I adore this. All right, let's open this thing. I love the packaging, but also I'm gonna be kind of sad to throw it away because I just don't need it. But I do appreciate a good unboxing experience. And here we have my vintage camera notebook. This actually has a cloth cover, which is different from the one that I had last year. So I'm just gonna lift this out. Okay, so here's our new notebook for 2024. They actually were pretty well cleared out when I placed the order for this, and so I didn't have a whole lot of options to choose from because a lot of the designs were sold out. However, because I'm embarking on this YouTube journey, the vintage camera actually felt really fitting. Before I even open it up, I really love that this has a pin holder. Pretty much all of the other journals I've used never had this pin holder, and you could either buy a little loop that adheres inside, or you would just have to like hope that your pen is somewhere at the bottom of your bag. Let's pop this open real quick. And ooh, look at that foil. I did not know this was in here. That's really fun. The very next page is where the dot journal begins. I don't like to use this page here. I prefer to keep the first page blank just because starting on the first page just gives me like weird vibes. And I like to start on like a full spread. Even though literally the only thing I'm going to be using this for is to brain dump. Actually, that's not entirely true. I'm not just going to be brain dumping in here, but I'm not going to be doing any formal layouts or anything like that. But I still like to start on a spread. If I'm just coming in here, in the morning and I'm ready to just do like a typical journaling session, I'll just put the date at the top and then just keep my pen moving for about 20 minutes or until I fill up 3 pages. And the reason for this is I started this morning practice. It was inspired by Julia Cameron. If you're familiar with The Artist's Way, the big takeaway for me from that book is to do your morning pages. And it's almost like doing a deep cleaning for your psyche, and you can just put everything that's on your mind down on the paper. And when I originally thought about that as a concept of what that kind of journaling can look like, it really was very challenging for me because as a kid, I tried to keep a journal, and as a teen, I tried to keep a journal, but I had a very specific picture of what that looks like. I got really hung up in the formatting of what journaling can look like. And I think that's a topic for another day. But when it comes to the morning pages that I practice now, sometimes it starts out with, I don't really know what I want to talk about today. I'm just moving the pen across the paper because this is the practice that I've committed to. And typically once I get a couple of just like nonsensical sentences down, I can start to flow into that writing practice. So that's one of the ways that I use the journal. Another way that I will be using the journal is just for lists and ideas. Let me see if I can find that in my other journal. It's deeply vulnerable to share the contents of my current journal, but I wanted to share at least what I sometimes do and how I use this space, and it's to do project planning, but like the early stages of project planning. Okay, so this is kind of a fun one because it shows some of the brainstorming and thought processes that I had as I was prepping for launching this channel. And I like to keep all of these things in one place because often when I'm journaling, it's going to feed into some of the project planning that I want to try. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you a sense of like, not only do I do complete brain dumps that are an absolute mess, I also have like this kind of planning where I'm just dropping in ideas and maybe I'm making a few notes. And like, for example, here's my editing shortcuts for when I'm working in Premiere Pro. So anyway, this is the kind of stuff that I will put in my journal. Another thing I like to do at the beginning of the year is to draw a tarot card from the major arcana. I really enjoy having like some kind of theme that I refer back to throughout the course of the year, because every card in tarot has something that you can take away from it, something that can apply to your life at any given point. And so what I love about the tarot is when you work with major arcana, it's kind of like this big, like overarching story. And last year, my card was the Fool. And if you're not familiar with tarot, the Fool is kind of all about jumping into the unknown and knowing that it's unknown, but you're going to jump into it anyway. And there's just this joyful spirit of jumping in and doing the thing. And it was really fitting for me as I was planning for launching this channel, starting to record videos, and I found that to be something of a comfort. And I don't look into it as like it was an oracle or it was a divination type of thing. It's more like a touchstone to think about what's happening in the year as I go through the year, and kind of like reflect on, okay, like where's the Fool energy in this? And it was a lighthearted way to think through things. And it truly was a fitting card for 2024. So we're going to look into my card draw for 2025 now. This is the Light Seers Tarot deck, and this is by Chris Ann. And I really adore the art in this deck. And I also found the insights in the guidebook to be really, really helpful, especially if you are newer to working with tarot. And I've been working with tarot for a couple of years now, but I still find this to be one of the more accessible decks. Like, I don't have to think very hard to actually connect it to whatever's going on in my life if I need like insight or something. And I could go on and on about tarot and like how I use it in my life, but that's not really what we're here for today. Before I can draw a card of the year, I need to pull out all of the major arcana cards so that when I do a draw, it's only going to be with those. I'm gonna do a quick count here, make sure I got them all. Okay, so there's only 18 here, so I'm definitely missing some. The Wheel and the Lovers. Awesome. And the Chariot. Okay, I think that's right this time. Because I'm only working with 22 cards, it's not going to be as difficult to shuffle, fortunately, which is nice. It's actually a little nerve-wracking to consider doing a card of the year draw on camera, but I did want this to be authentic. So here we go. All right, my card of the year. Justice. This is actually a card that I don't know that I've really worked with when I've done draws for myself. I'm gonna have to really think about what this is gonna mean for me and better understand how this card functions, because oddly enough, it's one that I haven't drawn a lot. So what I'll do off camera is go and do some journaling, just brain dumping, focusing on the meaning of this card and how I might work with it going into 2025. So that's Justice. Justice will get some time in the notebook later. I don't know if you could tell, but I was really stumped by the Justice card. It's not hard to go down the political climate rabbit hole, but that's not what we're here for. Instead, I'd rather focus on how the Justice card impacts my creative life and how it shows up as I go through 2025. If that sounds interesting to you, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to follow along with me on this adventure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.